All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast where we talk about anything and everything fresh juice and indie games. Let's be honest, we get a little loosey goosey sometimes, but we're going to have a good time because we got a great show for you. Because guess what? I am one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined as always on the other side of the screen or your ear pod, it is
Matty Juice. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show, Tommy. I've got some feet that are a little bit angry today. A little bit angry. And I can't wait to talk about it.
We're going to get to it. I mean, there's a new Devolver game, Angerfoot, right? Devolver, the biggest probably producer of indie games there is.
The premiere,
the triple I, the big cheese, the kahuna, I don't know, but
Matata,
the Hakuna Matata. We got a great show for you all. We're going to talk about Angerfoot and our thoughts on this pretty wacky game, and it's gonna be a good time. And we also have some really great listener questions. If you hang around towards the end, they're going to be super interesting, all gaming related too, to be honest, which is really, really neat to ask for gaming questions, and we get gaming questions. It's the best. So I'm being a little facetious. Shout out Bags. Stick around for the the listener questions. Now, before we do that, what's going on? What have you been up to?
A lot. I've been up to a lot. I've been playing a lot of Once Human, as you folks know. As you know, I've been talking on the pod for a few weeks now, and things have been going well. I've got a good sized community over on Discord now. Got a lot of awesome people in there. Things are blowing up a little bit, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been making some great content over on YouTube, so I've been just spending a lot of time making videos. I've been streaming on Twitch as well, at Matty Gorm, in case you're curious about that. That's been a lot of fun. So I kind of did a lot of that this weekend. I also took a little time to kind of just relax a bit, just because last week with the launch of the game, a lot going on. I was up pretty late. I had a 10-hour stream on Tuesday. Excuse me, I'm burping here already. I had a 10.5-hour stream on Tuesday. So just trying to recoup a little bit from that. It's a lot of work too, like I'm not a full-time streamer, full-time content creator or anything like that, but props to those guys that sit there all day and do that every single day, because it is a lot of work to like just keep talking to people, trying to stay entertaining, and also trying to play the game at the same time, so it's a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I've been having a blast this past week or so. So I'm still on the grind, but took a little time to kind of just relax. The weather's been super hot here too, so I haven't really wanted to go outside to do anything. So it's kind of been a nice excuse to just sit in the house and watch some movies, which, by the way, I know you recommended this a while ago. We watched Barbarian the other day for the first time. What a weird movie.
It's so crazy.
It was wild. I was like, what is that thing? So I recommend it. If anyone out there hasn't sseen Barbarian, don't look up anything about it. Just watch the movie, because I didn't know what to expect at all. And I was like, this is wild. So we watched that kind of on one of those days off there, but it's been a good week. What about you, Tommy? How's everything going?
Well, dude, I'm happy for you, because you've been making content for not as long as I know you, but I've known you since you were born. You've been making content for like years and years and years. And obviously you've had success. Gears of War was definitely a stellar golden era for you. But now with Once Human, seeing the success that you're having, the amount of views you're getting, the people tuning into your streams, the people coming into your Discord, it's really awesome to see.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot about Once Human, but guess what? You bet your dollar I am commenting on all those videos.
I see ya.
Something generic. Yeah, this is lit. Stuff like that.
Best video ever.
This is awesome. Pay him more. But it's really cool to see, and it's exciting. Just Just remember where you come from.
I will. Don't worry. Yeah. No, it's the best part about all of it because I have been making This has definitely been like the best experience I've had as a content creator. But the
Mhm.
what makes it the best is like all the people, like just chatting with all these different people, just talking about the game. That's like specifically with live streaming, what makes it so much fun. And it makes it so easy to go through a 10-hour stream. I think I only hit like level 10 in the game through 10 hours of streaming.
Oh
There's
wow.
50 levels in it. And I probably should have been higher, but I spent so much time just talking to the chat and just having a great time. So that's what's really been like special for me, of just like kind of starting to build those relationships with people. So it's been fun, it's been great. I can't wait for the future. But yeah, I appreciate I see the comments, Tom. I see them. I like them,
Oh yeah.
I appreciate the support there.
Drop a heart every once in a while. Why not? Get
Yeah.
crazy. But I it's really cool. In the street, and you're right. Like to stream that long, you have to be crazy
Yeah.
because you're talking to the computer with nobody on the other end except for a chat that
Yeah.
are all bots anyway. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But
Expensive bots,
expensive. Yeah, yeah. But no, that's awesome. But I had a less busy weekend, I guess. But uh, my lady was away on her bachelorette this weekend, so obviously I went hog wild and went crazy here back at home, which wasn't really that. But I had a river float on Saturday, so going tubing with a friend I made through Flesh and Blood, and he invited me last year. It was a lot of fun. Just really, he's become like a really good friend, and I'm just glad to be included. And it's very cool. But last year, I remember I only brought like flip flops, and then the flip flops when you're tubing, when you have to like get up or something like that and move out of like a shallow part of the river, you lose your flip flop, and you're like flailing around trying to get the flip flop. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get some water shoes, right? And listen, I don't have shame. I don't get a lot of shame ever, right?
Yeah.
I'm rather shameless, right? And even when it comes to my purchases, I'll go anywhere. I'll buy feminine products. I'll buy anything. It doesn't matter. Diapers. I mean, I guess that would be relatively normal, but not for me. I don't have kids. But
Yeah, that would be weird if you
that
just
would be weird.
went and just bought diapers that
Yeah,
weren't your size. You
but they don't
just to
know.
have them.
But I will buy whatever. I don't care. I don't care what people think. But for some reason, buying just water shoes was I was like, this one actually feels weird because there's something a little nerdy about water shoes,
Yeah.
and they are great. They're awesome, and they serve a great purpose, and I really enjoyed wearing them. But when you're like sitting there and it's the only thing, like, you're just here for water shoes, man? What are you doing?
What are you planning?
What are you planning? So I panicked. I grabbed a bag of Cheetos. I was like, I mean, at least
That
it seems like
that
I'm
makes it better. That means you got an evening planned. That's what that means right there.
yeah, yeah. Listen, it's gonna get wet and wild back at my house at the self checkout. Anyway, I didn't even think about that. I just went to the self checkout, so it wasn't even like whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the Cheetos were flaming hot Cajun, which I'd never seen. Now
Oh,
I'm a little sick of the flaming hot stuff, but this seemed like a different take on it. We'll see. I haven't tried them yet. Now, tubing was very cool though. It was good hang. The river was rather low. It wasn't the Delaware River, which is where I typically tube. It was like a offshoot of the Raritan River, which is a little bit lower and slower. And basically, my friends in-laws have a house just right on that river. So we drive up, we hop in, and then float down and just get up, and you're in the backyard, and we're just like grilling hamburgers and hot dogs. Really cool.
nice. That's awesome.
But the cool thing is, so this person that I went to, he's relatively well connected in the trading card game world, right? And he's definitely big in Flesh and Blood now, and used to be pretty big in Magic, and he's friends with some people that he's known for many years in that world. And somebody that was there was honestly, it's someone that I like like idolize
Okay.
like I've come to idolize,
Yeah.
because this person also was involved with magic, and I vaguely remember, kind of following him then, but became really involved in Flesh and Blood. And in that time, I've become like, wow, this guy's the bee's knees, and just got to, float down the river with him, talk to him about, cards and stuff like that, which was really sweet. And
Yeah.
that was pretty nuts. But
Yeah, you're getting them on Fresh and Buds, which, by the way, great Flesh and Blood podcast. If you don't know about it,
oh
Tommy
yeah,
Fresh hosting that. But yeah, is he going to potentially be a future host, you think?
yeah,
Or
not host, but he'll
or,
be a guest.
guest.
Yeah, he's going to come on for, I think, the third anniversary of
Hmm.
podcast. He's been on before, actually, a while
Okay.
ago. But that was the first time I ever talked to him, when I managed to get him on. And he was just like, "Yeah, I'll be on the podcast," which is like always really sweet. When people are like, "Yeah, of course," and
Yeah.
then they actually show up, which is really cool. And yeah, so look out for this person on the podcast in August at some point. Um, and now the other thing I want to talk about my weekend. So I went to Hershey for my job overnight for Sunday into Monday. Woke up early Monday morning. Went to the gym, but like I was like, I'm a little hungry. I want some breakfast before I hit the gym. Go to Sheets. Sheets is like a really bad Wawa. If anybody knows, go to Sheets, grab like energy drink, and I was like, I really want a bagel, but like Sheets doesn't have bagels. I was like, and there's no good bagels out in like Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I was like, oh, there's a Panera. I know
Oh,
they have bagels there, right? I've had them. They're not the best, but they're gonna make do in a pinch. I go to Panera. I order the bagel, everything bagel with cream cheese, right? Order the bagel, and it's not ready right away. Yeah, whatever. They have to go grab the bagel, cut it open, smear the cream cheese on there. It probably takes. It took like 5 minutes for me to get it. I grab it. I get out to the car, open it up, and this is. I was livid, Matthew.
okay.
Uncut bagel
Okay.
and a side of cream cheese with a
Yep.
knife.
That's what they do.
It drives me up a wall. It's the bare minimum,
Yep.
man, to
Yep.
smear a bagel with some cream cheese.
Yep.
It's and it, First of all, if that was the case, why wasn't it just handed to me? Why did it take? Because there was nobody else at the Panera. Why did it take a couple of minutes?
Right.
I I hate that. It's why I stopped going to Dunkin' for bagels a long time ago, because they started doing that. They never used to, and then they
Yep.
started doing it. I don't know if they're still doing it, but I'm not going to risk it. I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
I like doing the work on my food that I order sometimes. Like I order a wedge salad, right? Which is a wedge with all the accoutrements, but you usually have to chop it up.
Yeah.
I like those, right? I'm willing to do the work for that. I like um not corn on the cob. I mean corn on the cob.
Yeah.
Doing the work is eating it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Melting pot, Korean barbecue,
Yeah.
got to cook
I
a little
like all
bit.
those things. A
Yeah.
bagel, that's not how it's supposed to be. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I
Yeah. And they
I
have a bagel cutter there too. It takes like half a second to do it
oh
as
my
well,
god.
and just smear it. Like it'd be one thing, if like you ever go to like a regular bagel place and you get your bagel, and yeah, they cut it, and then they put the cream cheese or whatever on it, but they don't cut it in half. That
Mhm,
bothers me. But that's
mhm.
like a minor thing, right? Like with the
Yeah.
Panera stuff, I've been in that same exact situation, and I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, I can understand a little bit the cream cheese thing, like maybe like it's like a health thing or something, and they're not
Yeah.
allowed to do it. But just cut the bagel for me. Like then I'm using a plastic knife to like
Yeah,
I'm like
like
a
salt.
savage, like just
Yeah.
cutting this bagel open, and it's not even. It's terrible. Like, what are we doing here?
I showed up at work, and my coworkers probably thought I was nuts, because I was like, "Can you believe this?" And I forgot, like, I'm one of the few people that actually live in like bagel land, like where
Yeah.
the good bagels are. And they're like, "Yeah, well, we all get our bagels from Panera. That's just how it is." No, that's not how it is. You don't know. You
Yeah.
do not know how it should be. You don't
Right.
understand how good you can have it by not
Yeah.
going to Panera and having at least a sliced bagel.
They're bagel
Anyway,
blinded. Yeah.
But that was my week. So, yeah, I just needed to talk. I just needed the vent,
Yeah.
man, because I've been
No.
on like a bagel kick. I mean, you've seen I've been posting a lot of bagels in the food picks
Yeah.
section of the Discord, the Fresh Juice Discord, which is free for anybody to join. It's in the show notes. It's a great place to go.
Yeah.
But bagels, man, they just hit, man. When you
Yeah.
like want like breakfast, but you don't need like a huge breakfast or anything like that. It's like, it's just a little bagel, cream cheese, maybe a pork egg and cheese or something like that.
Yeah.
Suffice.
It's also like pretty cheap nowadays compared to some other stuff. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I'll be like, all right, I don't want to spend a lot today. I'm gonna just get, and I still want to get like a bagel. I eat half the bagel for breakfast. I save the rest in the fridge, and I have the other half for lunch. And it's like, boom, I just spent $5, 250 a meal right there,
That,
basically.
that's not
That's how
bad.
you do it. Yeah,
I
not bad at
I
all.
do not have that control. I don't. But it is, and like maybe like an egg, cheese, and meat bagel, like your pork roll, egg and cheese is your bacon, egg, and cheese of the world. Maybe $7.50, $8 pushing it.
Yeah,
It's a good deal for like a real like hearty sandwich, which is what that is. And then
yeah,
cream cheese is like $5 maybe. But
yeah,
anyway, no,
yeah.
that's bagel talk. New
That
segment
is.
on the show, bagel talk.
I'm
Every
down for it. I can talk about bagels every day.
Oh man, what's your favorite bagel?
I love the egg everything
Okay.
because growing up, I loved egg bagels and I loved everything bagels. And when the egg everything came out, I was like, this was made for me. But
Yeah.
honestly, I like any type of bagel. Like cinnamon raisin, I feel is underrated. That
I'm
is an
not
amazing bagel toasted.
mm,
You're not a
yeah.
cinnamon
I
raisin
mean, okay,
fan?
so I'll eat it. Um
Okay.
it's funny enough, if I'm gonna do that, I have to have it like buttered. I don't want it with cream
Okay.
cheese. I like cream cheese in savory settings only.
Okay.
Once you start messing around with cinnamon and raisin, it becomes not savory anymore to me. I
Okay.
think to most people,
Yeah.
to be honest. So, but I understand the cinnamon. I mean, it's a classic. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What about you? What's your top bagel, would you
Top
say?
bagel. So, I mean, I like any kind of jalapeno bagel that they're gonna have, on any given day. Sometimes it's like a jalapeno Asiago bagel, which is
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, when they broil the cheese on top with the
Yeah.
jalapenos. It's insane. But I'll be honest with you, I mess with a sesame bagel, just
Oh,
plain
yeah.
sesame. That's fine. I like everything. I like everything, but sometimes the garlic gives me like really bad heartburn.
Hmm.
And I was
Yeah.
definitely having that this morning after the Panera. Um,
Yeah.
their garlic must suck or something. I don't know. but also a poppy seed bagel. I think
Yeah.
I've really grown to love poppy seed bagels. You just got to worry about like your teeth having a lot of seeds,
Yeah. Yeah. And
afterwards.
one more thing. I know we're about like 20 minutes in. We're still talking about bagels, but one thing. This is shout out to Bags. The listeners know who Bags is, but I don't know if this exists, but why? And this is I'm giving all credit to him. But munchkins with donuts, why don't we have a munchkin version for bagels where it's maybe like the middle of a bagel that's maybe filled with cream cheese and it's just like little nuggets of bagel?
I think I've seen something like this on like some food TikTok or something like that, but
Yeah.
never like out in the wild.
Yeah.
I feel like there's those pretzel holes, like those soft
Okay.
pretzel
Yeah.
holes that are kind of like that would be what I would expect the bagels to be like.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, shout out Bags. Was that his idea?
Yeah. He's mentioned it a few times over the years. And I'm just always like, dude, I don't know, man. You gotta, bring it up the corporate ladder, see what they can do with
Yeah.
that information, file a suggestion to the bagel gods or something
He's
like
like,
that.
I have big bagels trying to shut me down. But well, let's get to some news. Let's get out of the bagel talk and into some game talk. Indie game news. We have the Independent Games Festival live on Steam until July 20th. What's the deal with this?
Yeah, so this is something I saw pop up, and it's just a bunch of indie games that are on sale, including American Truck Simulator. We also have, let's see here, Tabletop Simulator. A lot of good games, it seems like, that are on sale. Actually, I am reading the wrong article, so ignore me. That is the article from last week with all those deals. But yeah, there's a lot of indie games on sale right now. There's actually 80 plus indie games that are on sale on Steam until July 20th. Stanley Parable is one of them. Celeste. So it's some of the stuff we actually covered last week, as well as A Short Hike. I know we brought
Ooh.
that up before. That's also on sale. Outer Wilds. Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. A lot of good games on sale on Steam. So if you've been looking at any of those, maybe you didn't pick up anything during the Steam summer sale that I believe is over now, definitely check out this Independent Games Festival sale on Steam and maybe pick up some indies that you've been having on your backlog, or your list, I should say, not your backlog.
Yeah, I mean, listen, any more opportunities to get some good indie games into people's, libraries, I think is a great thing. And to be honest, a Short Hike being on sale, which I'm sure is not expensive anyway. I don't know what the sale is for this. That's a great game. If you just want something short and a hike, if you just want something like nice and sweet, simple, nice little story, relaxing, that's a great game. And then Outer Wilds is a game I do want to play. And it's one of those games you tell you, do not look up anything about it. You just got to experience that game. So the fact that it's on sale is making me think, oh, maybe I should play this game, because it's supposed to be like one of the most like eye-opening games of all time. It's not, Outer Wilds is the one, not Outer, because there's also Outer
Worlds.
Yeah.
Which is like the Fallout kind of game. Yeah. Outer Wilds is the one. That's the one that people recommend. Yeah. So Outer Wilds is 40% off for it's $15. And then A Short Hike is 45% off, and that's only $4.39.
Oh, dude.
So that's a steal right there. But I have played a little bit of Outer Wilds back when it first came out, because it was released, I think it's on Game Pass too. And I played like an hour or so of it, and I just didn't like get into it at the time. But there was also like a lot of other stuff I was playing, so I feel like I just need to dedicate time to it, because it was interesting. I just never got to any of those moments that people were talking about, of those like eye-opening moments. So I just need to stick it out, I think, a little bit longer with that game. But yeah, it's definitely great art style, cool little mechanics, at least from what I played so far. So definitely recommend checking out Outer Wilds, which actually it looks like it won Game of the Year in 2019 from Giant Bomb, Polygon, Eurogamer, and The Guardian. So definitely a highly rated game. And only $15. Yeah,
15 is great.
Yeah,
and if you have Game Pass, why not? So
yeah, why not?
Yeah, but we're still in the dog days of summer, so not like a ton of indie game news right now, but that was worth covering. Now let's talk about Angerfoot. My Lanta, this game. So Angerfoot, just a little blurb here, is a lightning fast action FPS first-person shooter, or is it foot-person shooter?
Ooh.
Where the only things harder than your ass-kicking feet are the ass-kicking beats. So, let's get right into the gameplay right here, because this is such an interesting game, and anything that comes out of Devolver, you're just like, I'm interested to see what's going on here. So you have this kind of first-person shooter, it's not even kind of, but like, your main way to kill enemies is your melee attack, which is you kicking, right? So you're going through this world, you're trying to recollect your shoes that are stolen, and we'll get into the story in a little bit as well, because this is one of the rare game that actually has like a story. And you're running through these levels, and you're trying to do them in a certain amount of time. Like, each time you beat a level, you can go back and like do the challenges, right? Like, one will say, don't use your gun, just use your feet the whole time, right? And you can pick up guns, and you pick up your opponent's guns, not opponents, the NPCs. This isn't PvP, but and you're this weird green dude in this wild world, and it's fast paced with this like crazy soundtrack, and it's like super like adrenaline pumping. And it's a little hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it is can be a difficult game at times, but like, there are also some accessibility options, I believe, that I saw in the menus that I didn't try out, but including like aim assist and stuff like that,
Yeah.
to help you, because that is the one thing that initially was hard for me to grasp, was the aiming with the gun, because like in most first person shooters that I've played, usually you hold left trigger to zoom in, and then you can aim and then use the right trigger to shoot. Right trigger still shoot, but left trigger is kicking. So every time you press left trigger, I played on controller, if anybody could tell, and that was difficult at first. But once you get the hang of it, and then you also realize your feet are super powerful. So it's like you almost don't really need to use the gun as much. Like the gun it seems to be, I guess, nerfed in a way to balance out what is going on with your feet at the main thing, your anger foot, right? Like that is what you want to be doing in this game. So all that being said, I enjoyed the gameplay. It's really fast paced. I didn't beat the game or anything like that. I played a decent amount, and I kind of like when things have levels, right? Like I really like that, and rather than just kind of open world, like I like open world stuff, but like something like this, it's perfect because you just hop in, you do this like really fast adrenaline based kind of gameplay in like a short burst, so it doesn't feel like you have to keep going. But like that's like the whole point, right? It's like super, like the bass is bumping and you're like running through these levels and kicking, your enemies and shooting them, and it's just I thought it was like a pretty fun game, to be honest. It's super unique.
Yeah.
But what did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I didn't really know kind of coming into the game how it was going to really be structured. So I was also happy to see that it's like level based. There's actually over 50 handcrafted levels. I did a little research on that. I did not beat the game yet, either, but put a good amount of time into it. There's kind of four different worlds. There's like four. We'll talk about the story, but there's like four different gangs in the world, and each world is kind of run by each gang. So you kind of run across like different enemies in each world. Yeah, so kind of picture like Super Mario, right? When you're like choosing a world, that's basically kind of what this game is. You're choosing a different level in each city, run by the different gangs. And then there's also a bunch of different shoes. This is something that like I was a little worried about. Maybe after like the first level or second level, I was like, okay, is this game just going to be just me kicking down doors and kicking bad guys and just shooting them with like a pistol, and you do find some other guns as well. And I was a little worried. I was like, is this going to be too repetitive? But as you mentioned, like each level has its own set of challenges, and if you complete those challenges, you get stars for each challenge, and then those stars then unlock more shoes that you can wear, and those shoes have different abilities. So you'll get, I got some shoes that like made everybody's heads big, right? So it's easy to headshot people. Some other shoes where when you kick things, you get ammo back, right? When you kick enemies, you get ammo back, so you can, you're kind of alternating shooting and kicking at the same time. So there's a good amount of variety there as well. And then you also do unlock some shoes. Most of the shoes are through the star system, those challenges, but you do unlock some of them through story quests as well. And then the game is about, from what I looked up, it's about like 6 to 8 hours long, which is definitely longer than I thought it was going to be. I was, playing this game, seeing the gameplay. I'm like, okay, this is going to be like a 4 hour, 5 hour game, maybe, just because, I was kind of feeling like it might get a little repetitive. I did find the gameplay at certain points like, okay, this is a little bit repetitive, but everything coming together with the music that we'll talk about later, and the different types of shoes you can wear, different type of enemies you'll come across in that same world. Each level is kind of a little bit different. It really helped to like kind of muddle that repetitiveness, if that makes any sense. And then also just in terms of the smoothness of the gameplay, it reminded me of almost like Mirror's Edge. That's obviously a parkour style game, parkour based game. So there's not really like parkour in this. You're really just kicking down doors, kicking enemies, and shooting them. And then we'll get into like the like I said, the story stuff and like all the kind of funny little things that you'll end up seeing as you're playing. But it's very much Mirror's Edge based, where like, if you fail a level, you'll be like, okay, I know exactly where this enemy is going to be. I know where this one's going to be. And so the more times you're doing a level, the quicker you can probably get it done, or maybe the more things you can try because you know where the enemies are. You're like, oh, I'm going to kick this door from this angle so it hits the enemy that's in the back right corner, so you can try all these different things, which I appreciated because it makes it really feels like the levels have a decent amount of variety in it, even though you're just kicking things and shooting things. Like you can try all these different things. You can even see in some of the gameplay right there, like he just kicked a little kind of wheel, right, that opens up a door and activates something. Like there's all these different things you can try. Even some enemies that throw grenades at you, you can kick the grenades back at them. There's different enemies with like bomb heads that you can shoot, and it has a lot going on in terms of like the gameplay, and enough variety for me where I felt it was fresh every time I played a level. And just the last thing about the levels is that when I was playing the first or second level, I was kind of like, okay, how long are these levels going to be? Because after a certain point, I'm like, okay, these are going to be, it's going to be too hard for me. But I actually felt like the levels were short enough where I was like, okay, like I feel like I'm almost there. And then you are almost there. So I feel like the length of each level, I don't know if they get like a lot longer in the end or if there's checkpoints at any point, but from what I played, the level size and the level length definitely felt right in line with like what I was hoping for. And then just the last thing overall about like kind of the gameplay in general is that there are areas like in between the levels where like you're not fighting anything, you're able to talk to some people. So we'll talk about that in the story part, but there are little breaks is what I'm trying to say. You're not just always kind of like going in and kicking things. Like there are little breaks where you're able to kind of just take in the city a little bit, which I appreciated from the gameplay standpoint. Even though I will say the first time I reached one of those, I just ran up and kicked the first guy I saw, and I was like, oh God, like I can talk to these people. Like these are not, this is not what I should be doing. But yeah, overall the gameplay was pretty satisfying. I think it had enough variety in it. It is a $25 game. So I don't know if we mentioned that before, but just keep that in mind with everything that we're talking about. Like it is, I know Devolver is a premium studio, but it is a kind of a more premium price tag, I would say, maybe for a game like this, or at least I would say above average for a game that's in this kind of genre, perhaps. But overall, yeah, really, really enjoyed the gameplay. I can't wait to talk about the story and the music. Yeah, I definitely agree with your points there too, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very like this is gonna be the dumbest thing I've ever said, but it's very video gamey.
Mm-hmm.
Which like I mean that in a good way. Like it reminds me of a lot of stuff, and moving on to the story and the story and the gameplay combined. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Duke Nukem, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of tongue in cheek, classic kind of FPS. Like, you're just running around killing things and there's a lot of humor to it, right? So the
Yeah.
story opens up, kind of builds this world where, you are.
Keep an open mind here, folks. All right. Keep an open mind as we're going through this.
Yeah. What's the name of the city? Shit City?
It's Shit City. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, so you got Shit City. There's a bunch of gangs. Everybody's in a gang except for you. You're the only one not affiliated with a gang. I think even the cops are in a gang. And yeah, you're going through it and people are just like, oh, you gotta steal stuff. Oh, you gotta steal some sneakers. So I don't want to like spoil a lot of the story because I will say it's very enjoyable, right? Everything that's going on, the characters are silly and stupid, and the characterization of these characters as well. Like when you die, I sent you a video. When you die, like they like do the nay on you.
Yeah.
Like if anybody doesn't know, the nay is a dance. And it's hilarious. And you're like, I'm not even mad that I died because this is so funny. And the story's great. These characters are hilarious. And the characterization of them is just so fun and reminds me of like Battletoads in a way. Like it's just very 90s
Yeah.
animated like kind of raunchy cartoon, which was like kind of really refreshing, right? I think this is like a lot of fun, and the story is awesome. I mean, like I don't want to spoil too much, but because I think if you play this game, you should. This is one of the things you should be experiencing is the story. So, really enjoyed it. I mean, right off the bat, you know you're gonna. I mean, depending on if it's your thing or not, right? When they're like, "Welcome to Shit City," you're like, "All right, I'm in," you know.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but yeah, I like the story. I think is the strongest point of this game.
Yeah, and it's definitely like the talking to like all the different characters in the game without spoiling anything. Like they're very happy to be committing crimes. You know, like they're happy to be that everything has gone to shit in Shit City. And it's just funny, you know, like you'll run across I ran across a guy who was like mugging someone, and like the guy who was like doing the mugging was like, "You're doing it, you're like the best mugger or best muggy or whatever that I've ever mugged." And the other guy was like complimenting it. It was like so weird, like little stuff like that. That was funny. And I gotta tell you, like something that kept making me laugh was in the levels, you will occasionally like come across like a bathroom or a toilet, and there'll just be a guy on there like taking a shit, and he's got his all of his stuff is blurred. And
Yeah.
like at a certain point, like I opened up like or I went like down to a stall. There were four guys in a bathroom taking a shit on like four different in a single stall taking a shit, and I was just like, what? And they all had guns. They're like shooting you. I'm like, what is going on in this game? And then you even like at certain points you'll pass toilets and like they'll just be blurred whatever's in the toilet because someone left like a shit in there. I guess that's why I call it Shit City. You know, they're you got guys like pissing on each other, like all this like crazy stuff. You know, it's very if you're not into that stupid type of humor, you're not gonna like this game because it is, you know, like you said, I feel like this is like an Adult Swim game,
Mhm,
but like from like you said, like the old school cartoon style,
mhm.
like as if those two things like mashed together. So yeah, overall, like I really did, you know, enjoy the story. You are trying to find your shoes again. That's why you're collecting shoes because you're trying to find your shoes. Your shoes were taken. You're like a shoe collector. That happens like pretty early into the game, but yeah, so that's you're just trying to recollect your shoes basically, and they
Mhm.
all have different powers. So yeah, just overall really funny dialogue. You know, everything was just great, like story wise. You know, it was refreshing. Even like all the different enemies that you come across have like these little different personalities. Kind of like you'll run across like a guy with he's got a riot shield, and on the front of the riot shield just says fuck on the front of it. I'm pretty sure, like, but it's like an acronym. I don't know what it means. But then he's acting like a little bit different than the other guys because you can't really shoot him. You got to go up there and kick him, I guess. But he's acting a little bit different. So all the characters and like they all feed into the story very well overall. So yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and you can see even on the screen here, like some of the dialogue that's in the game. This guy's in a laundromat, and he's like, "Oh, I suspect it's a laundering operation." You know, it's just like all this like stupid stuff that they're saying, but it's great. It really is. They did a great job with the story and just the atmosphere too. Yeah, we'll talk about the art, but like the atmosphere ties into the story so well. And yeah, yeah, just loved it.
Yeah, even at the level of the physical comedy, right? It's just funny to kick these enemies. It's
Yeah.
funny to knock down the doors. You at one point, like in the beginning of the game, this is not really a spoiler or anything like that. You go home to your apartment and you open your door by kicking it down, and your girlfriend's just like, "Oh, welcome home, honey." It's like the not even phased that you kick down the door, which is so funny. And then you got to go into your vault, and you instead of just opening the vault, you just kick down the vault.
Yeah.
So it's just so funny. I don't know. It's very cool, but the art is sweet though. It's like I mentioned, kind of like the battle. I want to say Battletoads is what it's reminding me of, right? Like this
Yeah.
kind of almost like Earthworm Jim kind of feel to it, like 3D, you know, 3Dified, I guess. And it just is so silly. And like, I don't think you could do this game and not have it look like this, right?
Yeah.
And the character design is really funny and really cool. You know, the enemies, you know, they are repetitive in a way. Like you're just running into the same kind of enemies, but like it feels weird because they're humanoids that you keep seeing the same kind of enemies. But like I guess in like any other game, just be like, oh, it's a bunch of Koopas. Like that's
Right.
just what it is.
Yeah.
So even like these alligator guys that are running around, they reminded me of the Goombas in the Super Mario Brothers movie live
Yeah.
action from the 80s.
Yeah.
Um, which this also gives a lot of vibes of that, which is like crazy because it's like a lot of sewer stuff and weird stuff. But it's just a good looking game. It's not super realistic. It's very cartoony, but it just the physics that they use in this game are just hilarious. It's not going to be like, wow, it's the best thing I've ever looked at. But you're like, well, this is all gelling with what I'm doing and what I'm seeing and what I'm like experiencing through the story, which is I think a pretty big win here.
Yeah, agreed. And I like the environments a lot in the game. We're looking at like kind of a darker environment here. I think they did a pretty good job overall with like the lighting. You're in like an apartment building for like some of the levels. Some other levels you're like going up elevators. Like they did a good job kind of making it a little bit of a variety of environments that you're going through, which is great. And then in terms of like the character design, yeah, like those kind of hooded guys, or I guess like all their faces remind me of. I just looked it up too, like the fish guy from Fortnite. I don't even know, like his face just looks so similar that it's just like derpy in a way. And that is, that's just kind of what I was picking up from the art for the enemies. But like I mentioned, you got guys with riot shields. You got a decent variety of enemies, throughout the different worlds that you're playing, and they all look different, right? Like you can easily tell because this game is a lot about quick reaction times with things because you get hit like twice and you're dead,
Mhm.
right? You can get some shoes that actually give you like a second chance at life, which is actually pretty funny because you die, those guys are doing the nay nay, and then you slowly like rise up and like they're just like, oh shit, and then you go and fight them again. But they did a great job in terms of the coloring for the enemies. You got these like guys in these purple hoodies, you got those alligator guys with the green heads, you got the riot guys that have the giant riot sign, you've got these guys with explosive heads that are red. Like they did a good job with the coloring so that as soon as you enter a room, you can like easily identify like which guy you should probably shoot first, right? Like if there's an explosive guy there, you're probably just like, all right, I'm going to try to shoot him first. And then if there's, you see some purple guys, okay, I need to maybe keep my distance for a second here and like recuperate because they're probably going to shoot me. So yeah, I think did yeah, they did a good job with the variety of colors for the different enemies because it is a pretty fast paced game. And I don't know if we mentioned this during the gameplay part, but there's items you can pick up as well, other than guns. Through the levels, you can pick up some beer. You can get drunk. It'll hurt you, like your vision. You'll kind of get all that kind of drunk vision, and then you can also pick up like energy drinks, which like kind of speed you up as well. And there's challenges that are associated with those as well. And then there's even like I saw like there was a pair of shoes that it was like it makes you and the enemies have terrible aim, but if you drink beer, it removes it for you. So it's like the opposite effect, basically. But even
Mhm.
just taking a look at the art design for all the different shoe types as well, because you do see the shoes when you go to kick. They all have a good amount of variety to it. They're not like super detailed or anything like that, but it's easy to tell which shoe does what. You even have like there's certain ones like our sandals that help you slide when you move, and those are the ones that actually you can reduce the nerf by drinking some beers with the dizziness. So yeah, just overall, I mean, it's very cartoony. But I also feel like they did such a good job with the colors, which is so important for a game like this. And also just knowing where to go to, I found like when I played like a game like Mirror's Edge, sometimes it was hard for me to know where to go, maybe because I'm not a great gamer or anything like that. But this game, they don't give you too many options, and they make it easy to see kind of the path that you should probably take because of the enemies that are kind of ahead of you. So I kind of felt like they did a good job art wise with that as well, kind of leading you along the right path.
Yeah, they do a great job here with the art, and it's really awesome to see. And it it might not be for everybody. I think there's probably a decent amount of people that might think this kind of art style is not the best, but there's a lot of intent here, which I think is what we come to expect from Devolver anyway. Um, which is, I mean, I guess the developers free lives, but it's anything that's being published by Devolver, I should say. But
Yeah.
the sound though is crazy.
Oh,
Now, like
yeah.
it's so good. Like the soundtrack's amazing, but it
Yeah.
is anxiety inducing, and that is the biggest thing here.
Yeah.
And I will be honest with you, if if you're not looking to be riddled with anxiety, this might not be the game for you,
Yeah.
because it gets pretty intense, because it's just like and you're like, ah, it's just like kicking things, and it gets pretty nuts. But the sound, the music's great, right? And it's a lot of noise, right? A lot of music that's like pumping. It's funny, you can break like a stereo with your feet, and it becomes muted, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And then also, like, just kicking things is like, the constant like smashing of you kicking stuff is, it gets a little crazy. But
Yeah.
the music is just so cool, and it's just kind of the cherry on top of the whole vibe, which I think that they did a really great job with. And I think it was certainly what they set out to do here, because it feels very much a part of the gameplay, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like just added in there. It felt like they're like, let's do a game where we do crazy techno music where you're running around kicking people. Like, that's just what it felt like they did, and then they set out and they did a pretty good job at it. So huge
Yeah.
fan, huge fan of what was going on there. Although sometimes I was like, I gotta not do that level again for a hot second, because it's a little bit too much.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And agree about like the sound and the music being so integrated in the gameplay, even right from the beginning. Like the first level, you're kind of just walking down this hallway. There's not really any music playing, or it's very low. And as you get closer to the door at the end of the hallway, the music gets louder and louder, and it kind of times like your first kick with like this just like bass bumping, like crazy music that's going on, these ass kicking beats, as they said.
Mhm.
And it just like at that moment, I was like, I'm in, like I'm ready to kick some things, like I'm hyped up. But then yeah, at certain points, like especially if you keep dying and you have to, keep doing the level over and over, like at a certain point, you're just like, this music is driving me nuts. Like let me just beat this level. My anxiety's through the roof. So yeah, it's great. It's a great soundtrack though. Overall, it goes perfectly with like just a game that is about kicking things. You're just like, yeah, this is the perfect soundtrack for a game about this. And yeah, I just loved it overall. I agree about all the sound effects. Everything was great. Um, I maybe would have liked if like because when you talk to people in the world, they just kind of, you see the
Mhm.
dialogue text pop up, but they're not actually saying the words. I think they might just kind of say some nonsense or something like that. It could have been funny if they were like actually saying the words, but there
Yeah.
are some characters you do come across that like have voice lines, like kind of the main characters in the game. So as long as you're okay with like kind of reading that stuff and still getting a chuckle out of it, it is funny. But there are some games, where they have silly characters like this and they become even funnier because of how they sound. So I just figured that like some of these characters, like the one they're talking to right now on screen, like this one has to have like a hilarious voice, and they just kicked them. So I just like that small thing there. Like I was kind of hoping for after seeing some of the characters, but it's not really a major deal. But yeah, overall the sound was killer in the game, and I'm actually really curious to see how the sound evolves as you go through the different worlds as well and the different gangs. If there's different kind of soundtracks, I imagine they're going to all be ass kicking beats. But it's yeah, it's super satisfying. But definitely agree. I kind of had to. I did 2 sessions of playing because I was just like at a certain point I was like, all right, I just got to take a break from the music a bit. You can obviously turn it down, right? And
Yeah.
there's a bunch of settings as well, so you can kind of have it be a lower tone if you want to. But I was just playing in the default settings, and it's bass bumping. It's getting you going as you're playing, and it just added to the whole experience. It was great.
Yeah. No. And it's
Yeah.
as far as performance goes, for me, no issues. I would I know that I know of. What about you?
Yes. Same here. Yeah, no issues. Played on Steam. One thing I did see was some feedback for this. I always kind of mention this in the performance part because I guess it's kind of related, but would love to see this on consoles. I feel like it's a
Yeah.
game. Devolver usually is publishing on more than one platform. So I'd like to see this on consoles at some point. It seemed like that was a big point of feedback for them. So hopefully they end up doing that and it runs well. But to me, it seems like a game that could easily run on everything from the Switch to like the PS5. Like no problem. So yeah, it was no issues whatsoever on my end performance wise.
Yeah. Well, it's time for the rating. Our ratings are as follows. At the highest tier, you got certified fresh juice. These are your Norp Apologues, your Baltros of the world. A steel. These are good games. Not the best, but they're good, and I think you'll have a great time with them. Get on sale. These are ones that maybe like okay, some flaws here, but still a decent experience, and could be something you're into. Maybe you get it on sale as summer's Steam sale or something like that. After that is manager specials. These are like the genre. Like you got to be really into the genre, right? Like it's got to be something like we don't really enjoy, but like I think if you're like a hardcore, whatever RTS fan, you'll enjoy it, right? Um, and then spoiled milk, something that we wouldn't recommend to anyone. Matthew, what is your rating for Angerfoot?
So I know I've said a lot of great things. I'm giving this a very high steal. All right. And the reason for that is just because I do feel like the price tag is a little high for what you're kind of getting here. There's a lot of great experiences you can have with the game, but at the end of the day, it is very like one note, if that makes sense. Like you're not doing a huge variety of different things. And I just kind of feel like $25 is a lot to ask for that. I don't think it even went on sale when it launched, which like usually I think like new indie games do. I don't know if Devolver does that. So I would recommend getting this maybe on a slight sale, but I'm not giving it an on sale rating. I'm still giving it a very high steal because it's a lot of fun, but it is anxiety inducing, right? So like I can only play this game in small bursts. And for me, like I want to sit down and play a game for longer than that. So yeah, I'm just giving it a very high steal. I still recommend it. But I just there's just those small little things that are just kind of holding me back. But I'm curious to know, what are you thinking, Tom?
Yeah, funny enough, I was right around the same rating. I was like, oh man, he's gonna go fresh juice, but I'm giving it a pretty high steal too. And this is a really good game, right? It's not the best game I've ever played, right? It's we can't be giving certified fresh juice to everything. There are some things here, and I mentioned it, like you also mentioned it, right? The replayability is not exactly there, right? Because if you're feeling like it's a lot, you gotta take a step back. I mean, sure, that's fine. Some games are like that, but like the real charm here is the story, right? And once the story wears off, like, and not that it doesn't, or not that it does, but like
Yeah.
once you get the charm of it, and then maybe you die a bunch, or like it gets a little bit overwhelming, you might be like, well, I don't even want to revisit it because I already know the shtick here. It's kind of
Yeah.
goofy humor, which is very fun, and I really liked it. So there's the possibility that it might just grow old on you, which I don't think will happen often, but it's definitely something to consider because this game can be pretty hard, right? And uh, you can only forgive a game so much,
Yeah.
sometimes, if it's not going to forgive you. And I think that, but other than that, it is a good experience. I liked it. I'm gonna play more of it,
Same.
and but it's not a perfect game, and that's just it. And it's still, I think, another banger from Devolver, right? I think this is still really cool, really unique, and happy to see it. So two
Yeah.
two high steals.
Yeah, this is like, it's what I want to see from indie games, right? Of like
Mhm.
them trying something a little bit different and being silly with it. Like it checks off definitely a lot of boxes. So I think there will be people out there that give this a 10 out of 10. And then there will be some people like us that are like, it's close, but it's just not doing it fully for us. But yeah, still great, definitely a great experience overall playing the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
next week is actually Exophobia, I believe.
Yes.
And we will be reviewing that game, which is another FPS, more like a Doom clone. Although I know the developer has been fighting the Doom clone uh, claims publicly, so we won't be calling it that next week. We'll be calling it a Angerfoot clone. But we do have some listener questions, which you can submit on the Fresh Juice Discord, free for everybody to join. It's in the show notes. First question comes from K Moore. Question for Mr. Juice: are you gonna forget all of us once you make it big from Once Human?
Who is this? I don't even know who's asking this. No, this is yeah. Thank you, Kmore. I appreciate the recognition. No, I mean, I know this is not a serious question, but I appreciate all the support. I'll never forget where I came from. This is my home. Okay, no worries. The Juice Heads are the home. But it's been a lot of fun, and I also Kmore. Just shout out to you, man. You've been around for years. When I was, streaming to just a handful of people or less. So I know you're going to be playing some Once Human with me as well. And I'm looking forward to it, man. But just thank you, for sticking with me as well. So no, I won't forget it. Don't worry. But yeah,
Oh,
if I don't, tomorrow could be the end of my YouTube career too. So I have no no idea, right?
he's getting a big head. He's getting a big head, folks.
Someone's gonna dig
Watch
up
out.
something from one of these future questions that we're about to ask, right? Someone's gonna dig up something from one of my future answers here, and I'm gonna get canceled. That's just the way it is. That's all right. That's the world we live in. No, but anyway,
I'm
yeah.
getting so first of all, I'm getting a little nervous. I just got like a notification on my phone. It was like, you have a flight happening soon. Turn it on airplane mode. I don't have a flight. Well, my next flight's not till September. What's going on here?
Well, you got to put it on a few months early. Everyone knows that.
Sure, everybody
For
knows.
security.
Next question comes from Bags, who submitted a wonderful gaming question here. Favorite life memory?
Oh, probably being born. Remember that? No, my favorite life memory.
This
I
is a
mean,
big one.
this is a big one. The accident. No, I'm probably. I don't know. I'll just pick a random one. I remember when I got my first dog. It was on like Christmas or I think Christmas, yeah. And at the time, I only had hamsters. And I don't know, I was like sleeping or whatever. This was like in the first house I lived in, and like my parents put like the dog up on the bed, and the dog started kind of like licking my ear or whatever. And I woke up fully expecting there to be like a hamster nibbling on my ear, because I was like, what the hell? I didn't say that at the time. I was like 7 or whatever, but and then it was my first dog, Lucky. So that was pretty cool. So I remember that. I don't know if that's my favorite life memory, but that's one of my earlier favorite memories, if that makes any sense. So, yeah. What about you, Tom?
I don't know. This is a hard one. I mean, shout out Lucky. Lucky was an awesome dog. Um,
Yeah.
my favorite life memory. Holy smokes. Well, I mean, maybe I'll just give the answer that Matt should have gave. Matt's wedding. The day he got married to his wife.
All right. Hey. She's not
um,
listening.
well, funny enough, that was a big weekend for me too, in terms of life, right, in a
Yeah,
negative way. But I mean, maybe in a net positive.
true.
God, I don't know. I think. Oh, holy smokes! I don't
Yeah,
know. The meeting you, Bags. It was awesome. That was so
there you
cool.
go.
This is the best.
Yeah.
But thank you for the question. Next question comes from Capolo. Favorite non-gaming YouTube channels you would recommend to binge?
That watch guy that Tom talked about a bit ago. No, that's a good one.
Guys.
What's it? Wristwatch Revival, right?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I also do like the lockpicking lawyer. If you've ever checked him out, he basically just lockpicks a bunch of different types of locks, and he does it super quickly, and he kind of explains like how he does it. I'm also interested. The last one, I don't even know this guy's name. I'm just gonna Google this and see. I'm sure he'll be like one of the first people. It's like a guy. Oh, it's Outdoor Boys. It's just this guy. I keep seeing TikToks of him. I think he lives in Alaska. He'll just
Mhm.
like purposely go out and like live in the woods and like
I like stuff like
he's
that.
yeah. I just love watching that sort of stuff. Like one of the videos I watched recently was like it was so much snow. He's in Alaska, and he was like digging down to try to like I guess dig like a little kind of shelter or something for him. And as he's digging down, there was like the top of a tree. Like the snow was so high, it like went past the trees. And he was like, oh, like we're not going to be able to dig here. We have to like move. And he's literally like, you know, 30, 40 feet in the air and it's all snow. He's like, yeah, we got to be careful because, like, I guess you could like drop through or whatever. I'm just like, dude, what are you doing, man? But he gets millions of views and I think he does some stuff with his kids as well, which is cool to like teach them that stuff. But I think he was doing like a weekly YouTube episodes, and now he's doing like monthly because like it's just taking a toll on him doing all that stuff, which makes sense. Like that's a lot of freaking work. But he's doing everything by hand. He's not one of those fake like channels of like I'm gonna build like a pueblo in the woods or whatever it is, and they really just use like construction vehicles, whatever. I've seen some of that stuff. And I just have one more that I just thought of. This
Mhm.
is a great one. This guy's name is, hold on a second. Let's see. Geo Wizard. I found this guy a while ago. He's kind of blown up since. Yeah, he's got over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. This guy's super good at like GeoGuessr and all that stuff. But the stuff that hooked me with him, and he doesn't really do them that often anymore, is he did a challenge where he tried to walk across Wales in a straight line. Like,
Okay.
so that's the whole idea of the video. So he is like walking through people's properties and stuff. He's got like this like GPS thing trying to, stay on the line. He's getting chased by farmers, all this sort of stuff, just so that he could try to complete this thing of just walking in a straight line. So sometimes he would do it by himself. Sometimes he'd bring someone with him. He's done it. He's tried to attempt it for a few different countries. I don't know if he's ever completed one. But definitely recommend checking out Geo Wizard. He's just got great commentary. He's like a British guy. They got great
Mhm.
voices, great way of
Sure.
talking,
A
So
nice turn of
um,
phrase, as they say.
yeah, and honestly, like he had like maybe 50,000 followers when I first saw that video, but then that one blew up, and now he just does like this sort of stuff full time. So definitely recommend Geo Wizard. That should have been the first one I said because that guy is awesome. But anyway, that's like 4 channels right there. But Tom, what do you have to recommend?
Um. So well, funny enough, like I thought you were talking about was it Geo Rainbolt or something like that. The kid who's like really good at geoguessing, like at
Oh
speed
yeah,
geoguessing.
yeah.
Kind of looks like
He's
our
this
cousin
guy's
Amos.
good. Yeah, but he's not that good. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That kid's pretty fun to watch like clips of, and he's just like, "Oh, it's this road in Russia, I think." Oh yeah, there is, and you're like, "What the heck?" But I don't watch a lot of YouTube, to be honest with you. Um, anything I do is somewhat gaming related, but I did recommend Cryo Crypt the like a couple weeks ago, this dungeon synth like album, right? And I found Cryo Chamber, which is like their main channel. There it's a dark ambient music label, and just like posts a bunch of like insanely good dark ambient albums, and then also does like little compilations that like, oh, this is a bunch of different people's dark ambient put together, and it has like one solid theme. And I've been listening to a lot of dark ambient music. It's like I was explaining to my coworkers, and I was like, "Yeah, I've just been like really into like dark ambient, like like sounds, like like haunted house noises. I mean, more like I'm in like a horror movie." And they're like, "Are you like a killer? Are you like a serial?" No, but Cryo Chamber is really sweet because I mean, the music's really cool. If you're into that, it helps me focus, right? So I started just working out to it, which sounds crazy, right? Because it's not like upbeat or anything like that. But I have like a 6-hour playlist on my Spotify now of stuff I found from there.
That's serial killer level stuff right there.
Yeah, I'm just like in the gym, like he's like not looking at me. So yeah, but go on Cryo Chambers YouTube channel. There's some really cool stuff. I promise. If you're just looking for some background noise that you want to feel like you're kind of like there's different vibes to it, right? Like there's one that's like, oh, you're below the ruins. You're in like a subterranean like place.
Yeah.
And then there's another one where it's like, oh, this is a Lovecraftian horror story that you're going to be living in your mind. And I really like that stuff. It's actually like I'm just discovering how much I love it. It calms me. It lets me focus because
Cool.
I have a manic energy. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that, but that this is helping, I hope. But
just listen to that after you get your next Panera bagel.
I had to crank it after that. My God. And then the last question comes from rcarp11, who asks, "What's the most embarrassing email/screen name you've ever had?"
So I'm not gonna say the whole one. I'll say an email, and it's actually one I still use. The Stick. So it has the stick in it. There's some other stuff to it as well, but basically that was my nickname when I played baseball. My like dad gave me that nickname like years ago. Apparently, because like I had like very long legs. I was like skinny, tall, and he was like, "Oh, you're like a stick." So my teammates just started calling me the Stick. So that was fine at the time. But now when I like have to call like the mortgage company or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, what's your email?" I'll have to be like the Stick, and then I'll say the rest of the email, and I'm just like, yeah, it's an oldie, like and they're like the Stick, and I was just like, yes. So yeah, probably that one, which is like it's not the most embarrassing or anything like that. It's just kind of weird to say. But also just another note about this that always makes me laugh. Our other buddy Matt, that back in the day, he used to have an Xbox gamer tag, and it was 3 words. It was the first word was master, the middle word was Bay, and the last word was Shan. It was Master Bay Shan, and he had to call into like Xbox support multiple times, and he even had like an email that had that in there, and he would have to say it, but he would try to say it like slowly. He'd be like Master Bay Shan, and he would just have to say like masturbation basically to all these people that were asking for his email, and he used that email for like a bit there as I think his like main email for at least like a year, I want to say. But yeah, it was great. It was hilarious.
That's classic. I have 2. One I'm not going to say the whole thing, but basically I had an account, a comedy account, like a more comedic. I wasn't being serious, but it had something to do with being a sex doctor. That was one of them. I was trying to do this.
If anyone wants the link, just DM me, all right? With $50 Cash App, I'll send it to you.
Basically, the original idea for the bit was like, oh, I'm like a stupid kid. I'm a sex doctor. I'll give you advice on what sex is, and like it would always be completely wrong, right? That was the idea. It was like an early bit. And then the one that I'll give the actual name that I just remembered is my first Xbox Live screen name, which was Tom Sweener.
I remember that.
Just because
pop up when I played Xbox 360, I remember sitting next to Maria in bed because we were watching like Netflix on Xbox and it would just pop up. And she was like, "Who's Tom's wiener?" I was like, "That's Tom."
Oh, it was so funny because I remember like playing Call of Duty 4 or like Modern Warfare or whatever, and just being like, because I remember it's like, oh, like these kids would be like, "Oh, Tom Sweener just killed me," and then some other kid piped up was like, "No, that's Tom, or that's Tom Sweener," and like he was the first person to pronounce it like that, and I just started dying. I'm like, that's so funny. But yeah, that
That's
was,
probably someone's name too.
yeah,
I would imagine the
probably,
last name Sweener.
yeah. I mean, that was classic high school,
Yeah,
juvenile stuff right there, folks. But
yeah,
if you ever see Tom Sweener out there in the world, give him my best.
yeah.
I owe Mr. Sweener quite a bit. That brings us to the rec room, the end of the show, where we recommend something that perhaps isn't an indie game. And then we say our goodbyes. Matthew, what are you recommending this week?
So this week I'm recommending an album. For those of you who don't know, I know I've probably mentioned it before. I'm an Eminem fan, so he just came out with a new album called "The Death of Slim Shady," and most of it's pretty good. In my opinion, they say it's like kind of a concept album, so kind of starts with Slim Shady, and then he ends up dying. Obviously, Death of Slim Shady, and then like non-Slim Shady Eminem or whatever does like kind of the rest of the songs, but it's also like reversible, which is kind of cool. People are like figuring out now it can like it if you kind of listen to the songs backwards, it's almost like it's telling the reverse story, and it actually kind of connects, which I guess was part of their plan. But yeah, it's pretty good, and it's also interesting to me because I've been listening to Eminem for such a long time, so there's so many callbacks to like the old albums, and also just like he's talking to his older self. He can kind of still do the older voice too. It sounds like just like him from like 2003, and then it sounds like him like later. So people are like, is he using AI for his old voice? But apparently he's not. So yeah, it's just a cool like concept album of of a story. Like he's back to the storytelling stuff, which like I appreciate more than just kind of the random things that he's kind of been doing. So some of the songs I'm not like super crazy about, but some of them I think are pretty good. So yeah, gonna recommend that album for anyone who's into Eminem and maybe you haven't listened to him lately because his stuff hasn't really been hitting with you. Seems like a lot of people are saying this one's kind of he's getting a little bit back on track there. So I recommend it. Yeah.
Cool. I'm more of a Skittles guy. But
Oh,
hey,
me too.
I
Actually,
was,
yeah,
I like M&Ms though. I do like them.
yeah.
The
No,
Skittles
M&M's
are
are
good.
good. Yeah, yeah.
Do they still make sour Skittles?
I don't know, but they're good.
They're
They hurt the
good.
roof of my mouth, though.
They are dangerous.
Yeah.
I also have an album. Somebody else is making a return to music after a couple years. Sturgill Simpson has a new album called Passage du Dessert, or Passage du Dessert. Maybe that's how you should pronounce it.
Oh,
But it's under his pseudonym, which was kind of similar. I think it came out the same day as the Slim Shady album. The pseudonym of Johnny Blue Skies. Really, I mean, I'm a huge Sturgill Simpson fan. If you don't know Sturgill Simpson, he's kind of like brought back this Waylon Jennings-esque style of country music, kind of anti-arena country, a little bit outlaw kind of stuff going on. And this album feels like if you're a fan of more the like mellow stuff from like the 70s. So like some of this album reminds me very much of like the vibiest of Dire Straits.
okay, yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like still with that kind of country western Sturgill Simpson stuff going on. And he had taken a step away from music because he blew out his vocal cord and he had to like
Oh, wow.
take a step back from music. His last album, I forget when it timed. I think maybe the last album came out after he blew out his vocal cord, but it was already recorded. So I think this is the first album that he is back doing music since that happened, and he's recovered. You could tell his voice isn't as strong as it once was, but it's still super mellow, super nice.
How did that happen? Was it just from
Just
performing
performing.
and stuff?
Yeah,
Wow.
just
Oh
hitting.
man.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, crazy.
But yeah, he's a cool dude. I like his music, and he likes, and everything he does is somewhat of a concept album as well. And this is no different. And
Yeah.
this
Now,
Johnny Blue Skies character, I don't know if he's going to continue to make music under that name. So we'll see.
yeah, I was gonna ask because I'm like his name anyway is awesome.
Yeah.
So why do you need another name? But yeah, if it's a concept stuff and he's trying something else out, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think he first referred to it in his third album, which is one of my favorites. Welcome to Earth, Polywog, or no, Sailor's Guide to Earth. Welcome to Earth, Polywog's the first song on the album, and I think he refers to that kind of character, this kind of like seafaring guy
Mhm.
in that, because he was an ex Navy guy, and kind of like this persona of someone who's a seafaring kind of outlaw country guy is kind of neat,
Yeah.
a lot of fun. So
So
yeah.
would you say like this album is like piratey almost?
No, this
Okay.
one not so much, but like it definitely has this kind of saloony,
Okay.
like kind of Louisiana esque. You're in the first song is called
Yeah.
"Swamp of Sadness." So it's like
Okay.
this person who's like showed up in the swamps of like Louisiana or something like that.
Okay.
So there's
Cool.
there's that kind of feel. It's a good album, but that's gonna do it for the show, folks. Yet again, this has been Fresh Juice Indie Game Podcast. You can continue to find me on Twitter at FreshBudsPod. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds. This week, Mitch Uber Leslie, award-winning esports commentator, is on the show. Already recorded the show with him. Freaking ball of energy, super cool. We talk about video games quite a bit. We talk about how he started casting COD 4 and then moved on to Overwatch League and then moved on to all these other things. And now he's doing like Brawl Stars and Valorant. So it was like
Yeah.
a really cool conversation. And he was just like a total bud. And that was a lot of fun. So check that out. You can continue to find all of our stuff though at Fresh Juice Pod on all stuff in the world socials.
Yep.
What about you?
Everything. Yeah, catch me at Matty Gorm, GORM, on all the socials. Like I said earlier, I've been doing a lot of YouTube, Twitch stuff. So feel free to check me out over there, and I'll be doing some Once Human content.
Amen. Everybody, stay fresh. Yeah, juice heads.